Hey, Order the Rhyme here from OverIt Media, the sports edition, where we always keep it 100. As many of you are aware, the NCAA tournament concludes tonight, and a lot of people thought that Duke would be competing for the title tonight, but they got upset in the regional final by Michigan State University. And so a lot of people were asking, how come Duke didn't go to Zion more down the stretch? How come Duke didn't play through Zion? Well, in order to answer that question, let me first begin by telling you a story. About 40 years ago, Larry Brown was the coach of the UCLA Bruins, and they were heavily recruiting a player out of New York by the name of Sidney Green. In fact, UCLA was his number one choice, but he ended up signing with another school. And so when they didn't get Sidney Green, Larry Brown was asked why. And here's what he said. He said, the reason is because Sidney wanted me to promise him some things that I just simply could not promise him. And so they said, okay, coach, well, what were some of those things? And Larry said, well, one, he wanted me to promise that he would start, and two, that he would play a certain position. And I just simply could not promise him that. And so Larry went on to conclude by saying that all I know is this: Sidney is now at UNLV, he is starting, and he is playing his preferred position. Now, fast forward to a player by the name of Wendell Carter Jr., who played on Duke's team last year. Carter Jr.'s parents are on record as saying that there were certain things that were promised to them that Duke did not deliver on. Namely, it had to do with how Carter Jr. would be used and featured offensively. All of that changed and went out the window after Marvin Bagley III committed. Now, that brings us to R.J. Barrett, the number one player in his class, the number one pro prospect, the consensus at the time, number one overall draft pick whenever he decided to come out. And I'm sure he wanted to be the number one option at any school he went to because he had his choice of schools. So as the season unfolded, it became clear that Zion Williamson was the more efficient and the more effective player, but they never flipped the script. R.J. Barrett was always the number one option, and that never changed. Here's my suspicion: that he was promised that he would be the number one option. And the last thing that Coach K wanted was to have the parents of another high-profile recruit come out and say, look, Coach K promises things, but you can't trust his word because he will not do what he said he's going to do. Now, should they have played through Zion? Yeah, but they didn't, because Coach K probably wanted to keep his word and his promise to R.J. Barrett that he would be the number one option. And as you see, as the season unfolded, that never changed. And you have to remember that Zion signed after R.J. He was the last one to sign. Now, probably the hang-up was because they were negotiating some things. Like, for instance, would Zion be okay with being the number two option? And in order for him to be the number two option, I'm sure his parents said, look, if you want to sign the phenom, that's going to cost you extra if we agree to be the number two option. Anyway, this is Order the Rhyme from OverIt Media. And as always, I'm right as usual.